The recording crackles with static, a faint voice bleeding through the white noise.
This is Outpost K-9. Coordinates. Need assistance.
The sound cuts, repeats, then distorts into a metallic shriek before vanishing into silence. The night never ended in the Arctic. For months at a time, the sun didn't rise and the world existed only in black skies and blinding snow. The men and women at Station Epsilon-3 had long since grown used to it, 6 souls clinging to routine while the world froze outside their steel walls. Inside, fluorescent lights hummed, coffee brewed, checklists were completed. Dr. Aaron Holt, the station's communications officer, sat slouched in front of the radio console, headphones over his ears. It was 2:14 a.m., the witching hour when isolation hit the hardest. Normally, the only sound was static until tonight. He froze when a voice slipped through.
Outpost K-9, do you copy?
Aaron ripped off his headphones, his pulse hammered.
Commander,
he called, voice echoing down the corridor. You need to hear this. Commander Elena Voss arrived, still tugging on her parka. She had the no-nonsense posture of someone who'd spent half her life in military service before trading it for Arctic expeditions. What is it? She asked. Aaron pointed at the console. Transmission. Coordinates match Outpost K-9. The name chilled the room. One by one, the rest of the crew shuffled in, the geologist, the medic, the mechanic, the meteorologist, faces pale in the sterile light. Dr. Samir Patel, the medic, frowned. K-9? That outpost was abandoned after the reactor accident. No one's been there since the 90s. Elena crossed her arms. Officially, it was decommissioned after a containment breach. Whole place sealed, no one in, no one out. Aaron pressed play on the recording. The voice repeated, faint but urgent.
This is Outpost K-9. We need assistance. Coordinates. Please hurry.
Then the line dissolved into static again. The crew exchanged uneasy glances. That's impossible, muttered Jonas Richter, the mechanic. Reactor leak, radiation, the whole 9 yards. That station's a graveyard. Unless someone went back, Aaron suggested. Or, Jonas countered, it's a prank. Atmospherics play tricks out here. Could have bounced in from anywhere. But then came the part none of them could explain. The voice on the recording repeated, softer this time. Please, hurry. They're coming back. The crew shivered. Elena looked over her team, reading the fear in their eyes. Protocol dictated they investigate any distress signal in their sector. But this wasn't just any signal. This was a ghost outpost, sealed under government order 2 decades ago. Could survivors still be alive after 20 years? Samir asked quietly. No, Elena said flatly. Not possible. Then what the hell did we just hear? Aaron whispered. No one had an answer. Elena finally spoke, her voice low as if afraid the storm outside might overhear. Prep the snowcat, she said. If there's even a chance someone's out there, we can't ignore it. The crew reluctantly dispersed to gather gear. Aaron stayed behind, staring at the console. The static still hissed faintly, but just beneath it, he swore he heard his own name whispered back to him. By dawn, or what passed for dawn in the endless polar night, the crew was ready. The snowcat's engine coughed to life, echoing against the metal siding of Station Epsilon-3. Its yellow floodlights cut through the black sheet of snow whipping across the tundra. Commander Elena climbed into the front passenger seat, scanning her team as they strapped on harnesses and checked their packs. Aaron sat in back with a portable radio, headphones clamped tight, recording every scrap of static that might match the mysterious signal. Jonas, the mechanic, muttered while climbing into the driver's seat, 70 miles across unstable ice, chasing a ghost signal. Brilliant plan. Protocol, Elena reminded. Distress calls don't get ignored. Jonas shook his head. If it was distress, the people calling are 20 years dead. The snowcat rumbled forward, treads grinding across the frozen expanse. Snow swirled in sheets, so thick that visibility dropped to 10 feet at times. They followed the GPS, though the device kept flickering and resetting as if confused by their location. Hours passed in tense silence, broken only by the wind howling against steel. Then, "Stop," Aaron said sharply. The snowcat squealed to a halt. Aaron pressed his gloved hand against the window. Just outside, boot prints crossed their path, dozens of them, fresh. They stretched across the ice field and vanished into darkness. "Impossible," Samir whispered. "No one else is within hundreds of miles." The footprints weren't distorted by snowdrift. They were sharp, recent, leading toward the same direction as Outpost K-9. Jonas spat. "We're not alone out here." The deeper they drove, the stranger the land became. A frozen Arctic fox, stiff as a statue, stood upright in the snow as if caught mid-run, eyes glazed in a permanent look of terror. Auroras writhed overhead, green and violet curtains rippling unnaturally fast, pulsing in rhythm with the static on Aaron's radio. Once, a shadow crossed the floodlights, too large to be an animal, too swift to follow, leaving only silence behind. The crew grew quiet, huddling close inside the snowcat. Even Elena, stone-faced, gripped the dashboard harder than usual. After 8 brutal hours, the silhouette of the outpost appeared through the storm. The crew stared in disbelief. The windows glowed with warm yellow light. Smoke curled lazily from the main chimney. Antennas jutted up like skeletal fingers, some still rotating slowly against the wind. It looked alive, maintained, as if not a day had passed since its supposed abandonment. Jonas slammed the brakes, the snowcat idling on the ridge. "No, absolutely not. That place is supposed to be sealed in concrete." Elena narrowed her eyes. "Then explain the lights." Samir leaned forward, trembling. "And the smoke. Someone's burning fuel. Someone's alive in there." Aaron adjusted his headphones. The radio flared again, crisp this time. "Outpost K-9, do you copy? You shouldn't have come." The cabin fell into stunned silence. Against Jonas's protests, Elena ordered the snowcat closer. The machine crawled to the outpost gates, crunching over ice and snowdrift. The doors of K-9 were unlocked. They groaned open, with little resistance, hinges oiled, the entryway swept clean. The first thing that hit them was warmth. Heat radiated from inside, washing over their frostbitten faces. The second was the smell. Wood smoke and fresh coffee. Aaron stepped across the threshold, his boots echoing on the steel floor. The interior looked lived in. Tables were set. A lantern glowed in the corner, and on the central console a radio crackled steadily, waiting. The voice returned once more, softer now, almost human. "You shouldn't have come." The 6 researchers stood just inside the entryway of Outpost K-9, their breath visible in the warm air. The station should have been a frozen ruin, radiation scarred, rusted, uninhabitable. Instead, it was spotless. Lights burned overhead. The walls gleamed with fresh paint. Shelves were lined with canned food, neat and organized. A pot of coffee steamed on a hot plate. Jonas muttered under his breath, "Someone's been living here recently." But Elena pointed out something worse. The pot was full, black liquid bubbling softly, yet no one had touched it in hours. Maybe days. They split up, each moving through narrow corridors that groaned with wind from outside. Aaron and Samir entered the command office. On the desk lay a series of journals written in faded ink but dated only weeks earlier. Aaron flipped a page, reading aloud. "The shadows move again. We hear them walking after lights out. Time doesn't feel right anymore. I saw myself leaving the room before I opened the door." Samir swallowed hard. "These were written recently. But the ink. Look at it. It's aged like it's decades old." Meanwhile, Jonas and meteorologist Claire forced open a metal hatch leading to the freezer storage room. The cold struck them immediately, colder than the Arctic air outside, unnatural. Inside, lit by a single flickering bulb, The original Outpost K-9 crew stood frozen upright. 6 men and women, faces pale and glassy, encased in ice as if flash-frozen in place. Their eyes stared forward, mouths open, mid-scream. Their uniforms bore patches from the 1990s. Claire stumbled backward. "Oh my God, they're still here." Jonas gagged. "Then who the hell made the coffee?" Across the station, Aaron's radio hissed. He grabbed it instinctively, only to hear his own voice speaking back. "This is Station Epsilon-3, Aaron Holt speaking. We're en route." His blood ran cold. He hadn't said that. Not yet. The others rushed back into the command room, panicked voices overlapping. Samir, "The bodies are here, the whole crew, dead for decades." Jonas, "Yet the place is running like a hotel." Claire, "Something's wrong with time in this place." And then, over the intercom, a new voice crackled through. It was calm, authoritative. "This is Commander Yates of Outpost K-9. You've made a mistake coming here." Elena froze. That name was listed in every archive. The commander of K-9. He died in 1998. Lights in the corridor flickered violently. Somewhere deeper in the outpost, a door slammed shut on its own. Jonas drew a flare gun, knuckles white. "We need to leave, now." But Elena's instincts told her something worse. The outpost didn't want them to leave. As if in response, the radio repeated Aaron's voice again, this time screaming. "Help! They're in the walls!" Aaron ripped the headset off, trembling. "That wasn't me! That hasn't happened yet!" The static swelled, filling the room like a living thing. And beneath it, just barely audible, the crew swore they heard something moving in the vents. Something dragging, scraping, circling. Elena steadied herself, her breath heavy. "We regroup. We don't panic. Whatever this place is, it's not abandoned." The station groaned as though acknowledging her. Somewhere behind the steel walls, a second set of footsteps began to echo theirs. The crew sat around the command table, maps and journals scattered across its steel surface. The storm outside battered the walls, but inside, the silence was worse. No one spoke at first. They only stared at each other. Finally, Jonas muttered, "We're not all making it out of here." Elena shot him a sharp look. "Don't start." But Jonas leaned forward, voice rising. "Don't you see it? This place, it's using us, playing tricks, or maybe some of us aren't even real anymore." His words hung in the air like smoke. Later, while Aaron tuned the radio, Claire crept closer to Elena and whispered, "I don't think that's really him." Elena frowned. "Aaron? He talks like him, looks like him, but didn't you notice?" Claire's eyes darted nervously toward the comms officer. "He came in here with wet snow on his boots, but he hasn't been outside since we got here. How does that happen?" Elena turned, staring at Aaron's boots. Snow, melted, streaking the floor. Aaron noticed their gaze and snapped. "What? Why are you looking at me like that?" That night, Samir went to check the infirmary supplies. He returned, trembling, face white. There was another me in there," he whispered. "It looked at me, smiled, and then it said, 'I've been here longer than you think.'" The crew stared at him in horror. The Jonas only muttered, "Great. Now even the ghosts are medical staff." But when they went to check, the infirmary was empty. Elena herself wasn't immune. In the corridors, she glimpsed her own figure just ahead, moving with military precision, same parka, same stride. She shouted, "Who's there?" And the figure turned, It was her face, but its eyes were black pits filled with writhing static. It raised a finger to its lips, shh, before vanishing into the wall. When Elena returned to the group, her voice was shaking. She didn't tell them what she saw, not yet. Jonas cornered Claire, his flare gun in hand, eyes bloodshot from sleeplessness. You keep saying Elena isn't real. Maybe you're not. Claire backed against the wall. Jonas, listen to yourself. No. You've been quiet this whole time, too quiet. I saw you talking to someone in the hallway, but there was no one there. Elena stepped between them, shouting, Enough! Weapons down! Jonas slowly lowered the gun. But the look in his eyes told them all he wasn't letting go of the thought. The worst came when Aaron played back his recordings. The tape hissed, then produced not static, but laughter, his laughter. Then the others, Jonas, Claire, Elena, Samir, all of them, overlapping and hysterical. But what froze them wasn't the laughter itself. It was the way each of them remembered the moment. I remember that, Claire whispered. We laughed just like that a few hours ago. Jonas shook his head violently. No, that hasn't happened yet. It's going to happen. We're being recorded before we do it. Samir clutched his head, muttering, I can't tell which of my memories are mine anymore. Every crew member began watching the others, not daring to blink. Sleep was impossible, too dangerous. Voices whispered through vents in each of their own tones. Shadows stretched too long. When they turned their backs, they swore they saw one of their teammates standing in a corner watching silently. Once, Jonas left the command room to fetch supplies. He returned minutes later carrying a lantern, but Jonas was already in the room, sitting by the radio. Two of him, both breathing, both staring at each other. The lantern clattered to the floor. One Jonas screamed, the other screamed back. The lights burst overhead, plunging everything into black. The outpost had gone completely dark. The only light came from the crew's flashlights, trembling in their hands as they cut pale cones through the suffocating black. The smell of ozone and smoke hung in the air from the shattered bulbs. Both Jonases had screamed until their throats tore raw. Then one of them simply vanished, his body collapsing into static, leaving the other Jonas convulsing on the floor, sobbing, That wasn't me. That wasn't me. The others stood frozen. No one spoke, no one dared. Finally, Elena whispered, We're leaving. Now. They staggered through the corridor toward the main doors, snow crunching faintly outside where the storm still raged. Every step echoed as though the halls were infinite. The door groaned open to the blizzard. Snow lashed at their faces, needles of ice driven by screaming wind. They piled into the snowcat, Jonas behind the wheel, Elena riding shotgun. The treads churned, groan against the ice. For the first time in hours, hope flickered among them. But after 20 minutes of driving, Claire shouted, Elena, look! Ahead of them, through the storm, lights glowed in the distance. Familiar yellow lights. It was Outpost K-9. Jonas slammed the brakes so hard the machine lurched sideways. No! No! I was driving the way! Away! Aaron fumbled with the GPS. The screen jittered, coordinates looping, spinning them in circles. The snowcat wasn't malfunctioning. The world was. We never left, Claire whispered. Panic overtook them. Jonas screamed obscenities, punching the steering wheel. Samir curled into himself, muttering a prayer over and over. Claire clawed at the door as though she could run her way free. Elena tried to seize control, voice sharp, commanding, Focus! We find another route, another signal, anything! But Aaron sat quietly, staring at the radio in his lap. His headphones buzzed faintly, his face drained of color. I just heard myself, he said, voice flat. Screaming. Dying. It's already recorded. No one argued. No one could. They returned to the outpost, defeated, like moths to a flame they couldn't resist. The doors groaned shut behind them on their own. Inside, the lights were back on. The smell of coffee returned. It was as though nothing had happened. Except the journals were different now. Elena grabbed one, flipping through with trembling hands. The entries had changed. Epsilon-3 arrived tonight. They're scared. The station is working on them. The doubles are convincing. Soon they'll understand. Soon they'll stay. The final entry bore Elena's own signature. The ink was fresh. She dropped the book like it burned her. Samir began to laugh. At first it was soft, nervous. Then it grew louder, deeper, wrong. He looked up at them, eyes glassy with static crawling at the edges. "You shouldn't have come," he said, in Commander Yates's voice. Jonas aimed the flare gun at him, but Elena knocked it down, shaking. "Don't. That's not Samir anymore." Samir, or what wore his body, smiled. "You think you're different, you'll join us. You already have. Look at the recordings." Aaron slammed a cassette into the player. Static roared, then their voices spilled out, every word they had spoken since arriving at K-9. Conversations, arguments, screams. The tape ended with a chilling finale. "Station Epsilon-3. This is our final report. We should never have answered the call. God help anyone who hears this." Elena's jaw tightened. That was her voice. Clear, certain, resigned. But she hadn't said it yet. The outpost was recording the future. Jonas couldn't take it. He fired the flare gun at the wall, sparks hissing against steel. The flame flickered bright, and for a moment, the shadows recoiled. The crew stared. The station trembled. The flare burned out. Then came the sound of boots, dozens of them, heavy, marching from the hallways. The crew turned, lights darting frantically, but the halls were empty. The sound grew closer. The boots marched in perfect unison, circling them like a pack of wolves. Claire snapped, screaming, "They're already here! They're already inside!" And then she was gone. 1 second she stood beside Aaron, the next the space was empty, her scream echoing from everywhere and nowhere at once. Only 4 remained: Elena, Jonas, Aaron, and the thing wearing Samir's body. Samir smiled. "You'll be like me soon. We all will." Jonas shoved him to the ground and stomped down the corridor, flare gun raised. "I'm not staying in this hellhole." His voice faded into the storm outside, then silence. Aaron slumped against the radio console, exhausted, tears freezing on his cheeks. "It's hopeless. We're just signals now. Echoes." Elena crouched beside him, gripping his shoulder. "Then we make sure the next crew doesn't repeat this. We send a warning." Aaron looked at her, eyes hollow. "It won't matter. They'll hear it anyway. They'll always come." Elena clicked the recorder on. Her voice was steady, though her hands shook. "This is Commander Elena Voss, Station Epsilon-3. We responded to a transmission from Outpost K-9. The outpost is not abandoned. It's a trap. Something here records us, plays us back, uses us. Do not come here. Do not answer the signal." Aaron leaned into the microphone, whispering the last words. "God help anyone who hears this." The static swallowed their voices. Days later, hundreds of miles away, another station's comms officer stirred awake at his console. The night was quiet. Snow howled against the walls. Then, faintly through the static, "This is Outpost K-9. We need assistance. Coordinates. Please hurry." He frowned, adjusting the dial. The voice repeated, more urgent this time. He scribbled the coordinates down. "If you hear a faint signal in the dead of night, don't answer it. Some transmissions are never meant to be heard, and some places are never meant to be found." Thank you for joining me in tonight's descent into the unknown. If you felt the chill of the Arctic storm and the dread of Outpost K-9, help keep the signal alive by liking this video, leaving a comment with your thoughts, and sharing it with anyone who dares to listen. And if you haven't already, subscribe and ring the bell so you'll never miss the next transmission from Campfire Horror Stories. Every single action helps this channel grow, and for a new channel, it truly means the world. Until next time, keep your radios silent and your lights burning.